Howdy, folks. Spencer here, and I think today hell may have frozen over. The Riemann nerf that I talked about, that Augie went and talked about last night, and a few others have talked about in the past couple hours. Well, Cryptic has seen that this was a mistake to do, and they have went out and done something that they normally don't do. They're reversing it. So over on Twitter, I'll have this Twitter thread linked below if you guys want to check it out from Ambassador Kale. He talks about, that they did not really think of what type of impact that change would have. They did not realize, that that was something that had such an impact, for a variety of players that were, utilizing that cloaking play style. And the change is going to be reverted. Now, there's a more in-depth answer over on the Stowe subreddit from one of the systems developers. I'll have this Reddit post also linked down below. They had no, and it basically reiterates the point of they didn't realize, that this was going to really have much of an impact on performance. And they are going to put it back, and they are also going to add text that makes the stacking aspect of it explicit. Now, hopefully, while they're looking at this, they can go through and also fix the fact that the Riemann Captain trait does not stack with Superior Infiltrator or any of the Infiltrators, so might try to poke them about getting that fixed while they're working with the actual Infiltrator trait. But regardless, they have heard the feedback. They've seen the massive blowback in the past 20 or so hours, and they have reverted their decision for this nerf. Now, the nerf is live right now, but in a future patch, it will be reversed. But on a funny note, the nerf that went out today didn't actually fully stop the Infiltrator stacking. It stopped the cloak ambush duration from extending, but it didn't actually impact She's a Predator, which was likely unintended. The nerf was also meant to hit She's a Predator, but just a funny note that was something that they managed to mess up with the nerf. But thankfully, the entire nerf is going to be undone. Those of you that panic sold your Riemann Bridge officers with the Infiltrator ability, sorry for your loss. That's it sucks if you were one of the few people to go out and sell your Infiltrators, after hearing the news. But I'm just glad that the entire thing is getting reversed. Now, I did go through and buy up some of the cheap Infiltrators on the exchange, and if you are somebody that I bought one of those Infiltrators from, you need to send me a mail on Discord. So I had someone reach out to me earlier. I'd bought one of the Infiltrators on the market that was cheap, and I told them, hey, just send me a picture showing that yours is the one I bought, and I'll sell it back to you for the price that I bought it at. So if you are one of the other people that had sold an Infiltrator cheap and I was the person that bought it, then just reach out to me on Discord and send me a picture showing that I bought your Riemann Bridge Officer today on my character. Mail me promo packs or ships at SpencerB96. So I think I have 2 other cheap ones that I bought, and if you're one of those 2 people, or if they're both yours, just reach out to me and I'll sell them back to you for what I paid for them. Okay, so they've heard the feedback on, on the bridge officers, the Infiltrator change, and they're reversing that, which I'm really happy about. Now, Kale is also on Twitter talking about the Agony Redistributor, saying that they have heard that it was hit too hard with the Nerf bat. However, the designers want to watch the data of how it performs before they make any decisions on how to change it moving forward. And let's talk about just the consoles last week in general. So Agony Redistributor, as I talked about last week, has seen basically a 99% hit in its potential damage. And the issue that I really took with the nerf is the fact that there were people internally at Cryptic saying that, to be honest, a console doing 240k damage is still a lot for a console to do. While at the same time, this new lockbox that they've released has two consoles in it that are both doing magnitudes more than 240k. On a really high-end EPG build against unshielded targets, people are reporting the Dark Matter Anomaly console, this is the one that's like 10 mil on the exchange, as doing, quite a bit more than 240k damage. So the idea that they have internally that 240k damage is a lot for a console is very disconnected from reality, especially when in the same exact release as that change for Agony, they released two new consoles via the lockbox that both do magnitudes more than 240k damage. So yeah, I'm not happy about that. My recommendation for the Agony console, I actually put it up on Twitter the other day. If they want to stick to the cap that they have right now, or like have a damage cap, then I would at least increase it from 2k damage per tick up to 25k. That's still not going to bring it back up to where it was before, but that does mean that it has the potential to do 3 million damage, which I think is a much more reasonable expectation for a console to do in the current state of the game. And of course, that potential damage is entirely dependent on your performance of the rest of your build, because the way Agony worked is Agony itself, if you activated it on a target and did no damage to the target, it would do nothing. Agony only worked by you doing damage or your teammates doing damage to the target. So if you or your team did no damage to the target while Agony was on it, Agony did nothing. But if you were just hitting that target really hard, then Agony would do quite a bit. And given that Agony has that requirement that it doesn't go out and just do the damage on its own, I think increasing the damage cap per tick per target up from like 2k to 25k would be fairly reasonable and still make the console somewhat usable to certain players. Now, for Neutronic Eddies, if any developers see this, I would honestly, the reason people are just pissed off about the Neutronic Eddies console nerf is because the console was out for 2 years. It came out in the 2020 summer event, and it was known basically right away that it was a high-performing console. And Cryptic had over 2 years to go through and tune the performance of it if they, had wanted to. But they waited until after the ship that the Neutronic Eddies console is on, the Rising and Weather Control Science Vessel, I think the name is. They waited until this had been put in the mud store. They waited until a bunch of people had went out and got it. And then a couple months later, they hit it. So the reason people are a bit pissed off about the Rising or the Neutronic Eddies console is because Cryptic did not take, they did not resolve the issues with the console, before a bunch of people went out and spent a ton of money on it. This is $170 right now in the mud store, and obviously people will generally only buy it during the 75% off sales, but that's still, people were spending $40-something for this ship, and Cryptic waited over 2 years to go through and then, nuke the console on it. Now, the Neutronic Eddies, we have numbers now, and its DPS performance has basically been halved. So, a 50% damage hit. And given that people went out and spent money on the weather control ship to get this specific console, I'd either like to see Cryptic, undo the change and just revert it back to where it was, or go through and start refunding people that purchased the ship through the mud store. It feels really like a bait and switch, really scummy that they waited until after it was put in the mud store to change it. You know, anything put in the mud store from events has been out for a very long time. So there was ample opportunity for this to have been fixed before it was put in the mud store, and it just doesn't sit well with people. That's one of the big things that's pissed people off, is the fact that they spent a ton of money on this and Cryptic waited until after it was put in muds to make changes to it. Had these changes happened before it was put in muds, it would have been different. But given that Cryptic waited to make the changes, that's why people are pissed off. Now, the Webspinner. The Webspinner is an event console that we got in early 2021, and it got hit by 80%. So it's seen quite a bit of a hit. And what annoys me about the Webspinner is that they never went through and, you know, if they were going to mess around with this console so much, why couldn't they fix the passive on it? People reported that the passive was not fully working over a year ago, and it still does not work to this day. So if they're going to go through and make such a huge impact to the Tholian Webspinner, and they're not going to bother to go through and fix the aspects of the console that don't work, you know, that also just doesn't sit well with people, because the Webspinner, a lot of people would use it if the passive worked. Let me find it here so I can show you web. Here we go. The passive on it that doesn't work is the attacks against held foes gain 50% bonus damage. If that worked, people would still be fine and use this console. But the fact that the passive doesn't work, and the only reason to use it had been for the clicky on it, that's why people are pissed off about that. So, and I don't know how the whole image refractor changes have impacted anything. From what I've heard, some people say that's probably a gain in PvE. And I've heard some people say that it's a hit for PvP. I really don't know for sure. It's not a console that I really use that much, so I'll let others talk about that. But that's going to be it for this video. You know, just to follow up to the nerfs, and I just wanted to recap, you know, why people are upset about the changes that happened, and you know, ways that Cryptic could remedy them. So that's going to be it for this video. Once again, thank you all for watching and the continued support. More Stow videos coming soon, but that's going to be it for today. So thank you again for watching. See you guys next time.